connecting to that pelvic floor, connecting to your deep abs. So that's going to be the transverse abdominis, learning how to engage those things. If you learn how to do those when you're trying to conceive, like pre-pregnancy, that's going to help you so much when you are pregnant because now you're not going to have to spend time learning how to do those things. Welcome to the Vibrantly You podcast. We're your hosts, Megan Martineau,
Caitlin Cipriano. In this podcast, we talk about fitness and nutrition on your motherhood journey. Whether you're trying to conceive, pregnant, postpartum, or beyond, you're welcome here.
Nothing is off limits, and our goal is to support you in this important season of life so that you can feel vibrantly you. As a reminder, this information is not medical advice. Please see the show notes for more details.
All right, welcome back to the Vibrantly You podcast. Today we are going to be talking about working out while trying to conceive. This episode is piggybacking off of last week's episode where we talked about cycle syncing. So if you haven't checked out that, make sure you go and listen to last week's episode as well. Today, though, we are going to dive right in and talk about what best practices are for exercising during the 2-week wait.
Yes. So, a common question that I get, or even that I just see on social media, like people wondering this, is like, is it safe to work out when you are trying to get pregnant? So, exercise is perfectly safe, just like it is perfectly safe during pregnancy, as long as you've been cleared to do so. It actually, is really beneficial. It's great for your body. It has a lot of benefits. So, just like with pregnancy, ACOG does recommend that if you are able to be physically active, regularly and consistently exercise. It can help reduce stress. It obviously helps with your cardiovascular health, which is really important in pregnancy because our blood volume doubles. The heart is, working a little harder to pump blood. So the more that we can kind of strengthen that system pre-pregnancy is going to be beneficial. And it obviously is just going to set you up for a really nice foundation before getting pregnant. Because for a lot of people in that first trimester, when you're maybe like not feeling the best, you might not be working out. So if you can kind of set up a really solid foundation ahead of time, that's obviously going to be beneficial for you.
I think this is an area that maybe has some nuance, and I'm starting to see other personal trainers that are in this perinatal space try to start shifting the conversation to like, if not talking about like, is exercise during pregnancy safe? Like, if you have already been exercising, you know that it's safe to be cons exercising during pregnancy. But I think that kind of does a disservice to people who maybe have not been exercising regularly prior to maybe getting pregnant or trying to conceive. So how do you gear this conversation to that group of people? Because I think that group of people is much larger than a population maybe like ourselves who have been exercising regularly through a good chunk of our adult lives. That's very
Yeah.
different, right?
I'm going to be so honest right now that I hate the advice of like, just keep doing what you were doing and you're going to be fine. Because yeah, like a lot of people like aren't necessarily doing anything. So then they're like, okay, am I just not supposed to do anything then while I'm trying to conceive, while I'm pregnant? And you can absolutely start an exercise routine. Like as long, again, I say this a million times, but as long as you've been cleared to work out, like you have no specific reason that you shouldn't be exercising, it is so safe to go ahead and get started on an exercise routine. So yeah, if you are somebody who is like newer to working out and you are trying to conceive and you're kind of thinking ahead of like, okay, I know that pregnancy is physically demanding. I know that I want to prepare my body for pregnancy. Maybe you're just like, I need to lose a little bit of weight. Like, I want to get in good shape before pregnancy. I've heard people say that too. And even thinking further ahead to like postpartum, just like wanting to try to do what you can to set up for an easier postpartum recovery. Getting into strength training is going to be really beneficial for you. I also feel like sometimes there's this like narrative of like, oh, just like go on walks and do some yoga and some light stretching because like that's all you're going to need in pregnancy. And I mean, If you're someone that's been listening to our podcast, you know that that's not true. We want you to be doing more. Again, as long as you're able to, like it just is so, so beneficial. There are so many changes that your body will be going through, and having muscles and being strong is going to just make your experience more enjoyable. I mean, obviously there's things we can't control, like being sick and things like that, but like the stronger your body is, likely the better you're going to feel in pregnancy. We'll just put it that way. So, when it comes to strength training too, like we don't need to be lifting super heavy weight. Also think when it comes to strength training, people are thinking like bodybuilders in the gym, like CrossFit, like doing insane things. And that is so not true. Like literally you just need a pair of dumbbells. I say like a pair of light, a pair of like medium, and a pair of heavy. Like literally, if you have three pairs of dumbbells, and obviously that's going to vary based on the person. Like light for me is probably going to be different than light for you. So it depends on the person. And as you get stronger, those might change. Um, but what we want to be doing basically is like stressing those muscles so that they get stronger, like in the simplest form. Like that's what we're trying to do.
Absolutely. And I think that's just encouraging and helpful for people to hear that no matter where you are on your, fitness journey level, that it is safe and encouraging to start. I mean, maybe don't be like, okay, I'm in my 2 week wait. Let me just start this right this second. I mean, I don't know. You tell us. Maybe that's fine. But I think understanding how much exercise is appropriate during this specific time period as well as throughout pregnancy. As long as we know what to look out for, it's great to just know that this
Yeah.
is safe for the general, majority of people.
Yeah, so even talking about the 2 week wait. So again, if you haven't listened to our cycle syncing episode, which is the one right before this, you can definitely go back and listen to that because we just talked about how to support the body in each phase of your cycle, mostly with nutrition, but we also sprinkled a little bit of exercise in there. But if you tried this cycle to get pregnant. And now, yeah, you're in that 2 week wait wondering, is it going to be my period or am I going to get a positive pregnancy test? Some people do get nervous. Like, should I not be working out? Is that going to affect the chances of conception or implantation? Or is it going to cause a miscarriage? Or, there's just a lot of fear there. And rest assured that there is no research that says exercise causes miscarriages. So you don't have to worry about that. Again, ACOG does recommend consistent exercise, like that 150 minutes a week, continuing to do that even when you're trying to conceive. I think if you are nervous and like you do still want to do some movement, but you are just nervous, like obviously that happens. Like we can tell ourselves as many times as we want, like this is safe and fine. But if you're prone to anxiety, like me, you're still going to be like, well, I don't know. There might be something that I do that, like, you know, has an adverse outcome. So if you just want to err on the side of caution, like you could do lower weights for strength training. You could just try to go on more walks or just generally trying to be active so that way you're still getting movement in, but then you're not like worrying and questioning everything like, is this safe? Is this not? But to put your worries at ease, it is still safe to exercise in the 2 week wait. If you are someone who is going through fertility treatments, however, I would always refer to your doctor. It's typically the recommendations are going to differ based on if you're like doing IUI or medicated cycles or IVF. I just anecdotally speaking have had many clients that I've worked with who are pregnant through IVF, and they have reported to me that they were instructed not to exercise. I don't know if you still call it a 2 week wait if you're going through IVF, but basically, waiting to see if um, you're pregnant. I don't remember the exact terminology, but so that's something that you would definitely want to ask your fertility doctor about. Like, is exercise safe for me right now? Because even before this episode, I tried to just do some research to just see, what is generally recommended. And there doesn't seem to be like general blanket advice. So it really is going to depend on the individual, your circumstances, your diagnosis. So refer to your provider on what is safe for you while you are waiting to see if you are pregnant or not, if you're going through fertility treatments.
I think too, when it comes to fertility treatments, there is like again even another layer of nuance depending what your situation is. So it is always good to talk and have these conversations with your provider so that you feel, you know, like you're not anxious and you can feel good about whatever decisions that you do make during your pregnancy in terms of things like nutrition and movement.
Yeah, exactly. And then I did just want to touch on too, like, so if you are strength training while you're trying to conceive, sometimes people will say, like, what are things that I should focus on right now, if I am trying to prepare for pregnancy? And so, again, just thinking about the fact that a lot of people are not typically working out consistently in the first trimester, whether it's fatigue, nausea, vomiting, whatever it is that you're experiencing. We want to think about those foundational pieces of prenatal exercise when you're trying to conceive. So, this means working on 360 breathing, really learning how to do that, practicing it so much that it becomes second nature for you. So that once you are pregnant, you know how to do it, you know how to coordinate your breath, and you're like golden. Also, learning about your pelvic floor and connecting to that pelvic floor, connecting to your deep abs. So, that's going to be the transverse abdominis, learning how to engage those things. If you learn how to do those when you're trying to conceive, like pre-pregnancy, that's going to help you so much when you are pregnant because now you're not going to have to spend time learning how to do those things while your body is rapidly changing. And then another thing that I would just focus on too is really strengthening the glutes and your core in general. Because as we've talked about in other episodes, there's a lot of changes that happen posturally. Um, a lot of people can experience pelvic pain. And so, one of the best ways to kind of combat pelvic pain is having strong glutes, strong core. So, if we can work on those things ahead of time, it's just going to set you up better. So, those are some things that I would just focus on in terms of strength training, the breathing stuff, the core and pelvic floor before you get pregnant.
And I think if you are like again in that first trimester and you're going through it, a lot of that stuff that you just mentioned does still feel doable. Like you can be, lying down doing it so that you're not, you know, exerting yourself a lot, but you're still being able to prepare your body, which is great.
Yes. Yes. I mean, I literally have had clients in their first trimester feel so sick and they're like, "Can you make me a workout that I can do on the couch or in bed?" And I'm like, "Yes, I can." And
Yeah,
a lot of it ends up being breathing, deep core and pelvic floor connection, even just doing like some glute bridges from the couch, doing some clamshells. Like they may seem easy or like insignificant in the moment, but it all adds up.
totally. I remember that phase too.
Yeah.
I can lie down and do 360 breathing and some glute bridges, and that's about it. But hey,
Well, and I think too, just like shifting your mindset to like, what can I do in this moment to support my body?
yes,
Rather than being like, okay, a workout needs to be heart pumping, I need to be sweating, I need to be sore. Instead, thinking about exercise and movement in a way to support your body, I think can be powerful and like get you out of that all or nothing mindset and also just helps you stay more consistent and stay in the habit of just like doing some intentional movement regularly.
absolutely. I think that mindset shift is also helpful throughout I mean, anytime, but definitely too as you progress along in pregnancy when you do maybe have aches and pains come up to just be able to know that there are still things you can do to support your body, even if it's not what you were used to doing previously.
Yes, absolutely. And then the last thing that I just wanted to touch on in this episode is how much is too much when you're trying to conceive? So, obviously, when you're trying to conceive, we do want to be supporting a healthy menstrual cycle and all those hormone fluctuations that are happening. And sometimes too much exercise can be stressful on the body or it can impact your cycle. So if you are someone who does exercise a little more intensely and you're starting to notice that like you're skipping periods or like you're not ovulating, like those kinds of things, take a look at your workout routine and see if you need to scale back a little bit. I do think it is important to remember like exercise is stress on the body. Usually it's good stress, but like with anything, too much of a good thing can become a bad thing. So that's really the only thing that you would want to look at is like if you are over exercising, under eating, which I'm sure you could agree with, like those two things in combination, if they're starting to affect your menstrual cycle, then you would maybe want to reevaluate if your end goal is conception and pregnancy.
Yeah, and also just energy levels as well. Are you experiencing fatigue? Are you having difficulty getting not only good duration of sleep, but the quality of sleep, as well as are you having trouble like recovering from those workouts
Yes.
that you are doing? But, and then obviously looking at your menstrual cycle. But I find like those pieces are all common threads when we're thinking about um, not only just like conception, but how your workouts impact you as a whole human.
Yeah, I like that you brought up recovery because I think that's really important as well. I think a lot of times people think like, oh, again, like a workout's not good unless I'm super sore. But if you are really sore after every workout, that's actually a sign that like again, we need to reevaluate. Either you're not getting enough sleep, you're not hydrating, you're not eating enough, like the workouts are too hard and not appropriate. So, those are actually signs of like, okay, let's actually take a look at everything, the whole picture, and see maybe how we can help you recover better.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Cool. I think that covers that topic really nicely. Again, taking into consideration a multitude of factors and nuance through probably like some big changes for you going into motherhood. So, if you have any questions on this topic, please feel free to leave a comment on either Megan or my social channels. We'll leave those in the show notes. And otherwise, we will see you guys back next week. Feel free to share this with a friend who may need it. And we can't wait to see you back.